This is Pat Soundbytes Unplugged, the podcast where all the artists go to tell it as it is. Careers, music, tours, and more. And here's your host, the man that refuses to eat squid, Pat Calamari.
Hey, Pat Calamari here, host of Pat Soundbytes Unplugged, and we have finally reached that moment. Big drum roll, please. Episode number 100. Could you imagine? 100. And we're still just in a little bit about November. And we've still got another month to go or so it's all good. Episode 100 featuring the lead vocalist of the great rock band Toto, Joseph Williams. Great chat with Joseph. He's got an album, new solo album coming out called Denizen Tenant. Great funny story about that. It officially comes out in February of next year on the Mascot label group. He's got a single out called Never Saw You Coming, which is pretty cool. We talk about songwriting. We talk about the different tracks. We talk about the song title. We talk about Toto, the new lineup with Steve Lukather. Luke's also got a new solo album coming out in kind of simultaneously with Joseph, which I find that pretty ironic and pretty cool, although that wasn't originally the plan, as Joseph mentions. And we have a great chat. So we talk about composing. Joseph's father, one of the best, if not the best, composers out there when it comes to movies and soundtracks, Star Wars and E.T. and Jaws and all that. So, real good chat with Joseph. So, why not? Joseph Williams of Toto, episode number 100. As always, thanks for following me. Share, tell your friends, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Pat Soundbytes on YouTube, Pat Soundbytes IGTV on Instagram, Pat Soundbytes on Twitter, and of course Facebook. As always, live, love, and laugh a lot. Life is way too short. Go and support Mr. Joseph Williams of the band Toto.
Hey everybody, this is Joseph Williams, singer from Toto, and you're listening to Pat's Soundbytes Unplugged podcast. Love ya.
WBXO Classic Rock redefined in conjunction with Pat Soundbytes Unplugged podcast. Man, a great one today. Singer, songwriter, engineer, composer, producer, and I think he can add grandpa soon to his resume. And I'm talking about the lead vocalist of the great rock band Toto, Mr. Joseph Williams. How are you, Joseph?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I am super excited to be able to have this opportunity. I've had the opportunity to talk to Luke a couple of times, so this is really cool. And congratulations on, has it happened already, or it's getting ready to happen, the grandpa?
It's getting ready to happen. She's got it's basically, from this point on, it could happen anytime.
Excellent. Well, a lot more inspiration to write great new music, I'm sure, right?
Exactly. I'm hoping for another singer to fill out our little group.
There you go. And make sure, like, the first gifts is like a drum kit to drive mom and dad crazy. You know how that goes.
Exactly.
Joseph has got a new solo album coming out. I've been practicing this all day. Denizen Tenant. Am I saying it correct, Joseph?
Yeah, Denizen Tenant.
Denizen Tenant officially comes out in February 2021 on Mascot label group, actually in simulcast with Luke's solo album upcoming, I Found the Sun Again. And pretty cool. The pre-orders are available today, and both of you guys are performing on both of each other's record, which is really cool, like a double shot of Toto. Let me just ask, Joseph, any thought of when you guys sat down, you, Luke, and thought of maybe doing these solo albums, putting it all together into one new Toto album?
Well, not really, because we both started these records, separately at different times. I mean, I started working on mine in 2016.
Wow.
And, over the course of those following years, was just chipping away at songs and collecting, material for my record, which was always just going to be a standalone solo record that I would finish after the band was going to finish in 2019. I was always going to use 2020 to finish what I had started in those years, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Luke had decided that he was going to do a solo record at some point, I think in 2019, and it was only after I started working on mine and I was getting close to the end of it that we started talking about doing this merging, and it made sense that if you kind of put them on shuffle, that you actually kind of listening to a new Toto album.
I love it. Great. No, that makes a lot of sense, because I'm like, why wouldn't they do it together? But now that you clarify that, I get that all. I love the track. Never Saw You Coming. Can't wait to throw that on our rotation. It's available on all streaming platforms globally. Now, Denizen Tenant. I read on your Instagram, and I was just laughing. A cat that makes your house his house. And if that's true, boy, can I certainly relate to it, because we have an animal rescue facility that's pretty much right behind my house. And I had a cat, and we're animal lovers, and we had a cat that just would not leave us, who has now become a family member, has become our house, a tenant of our house for the last 2 years. So talk to me about the name and the processes, and is that the idea behind the title?
That's totally the idea. The Denizen Tenant is like a guy that comes to your party but doesn't leave. It's that guy. You know what I mean?
I know that. I got plenty of friends that have been that guy until my wife says it's time for them to leave.
Exactly.
No, I get it. Dozens of new recordings and a few covers, and you did the Beatles' "If I Fell." What inspired you for that song? What's the importance behind that great track for you to add it on this album?
Well, that's the Beatles song that when I was a kid, was really the first song that did two things for me. It was the first song that made me feel sad, and so it was the first song where music connected to an emotion for me, and I understood that music could actually do that. So I felt sadness really for the first time listening to a song. And the other thing it did was that it taught me about how harmonies worked, vocal harmonies, and how it worked, and how if you removed one harmony in the middle, you got this beautiful sound. And so it's a very important, one of my favorite, Beatles songs. And I wasn't really planning on doing it. I just started noodling around with it in the studio, and I just got carried away. I couldn't stop. So it just ended up, I just ended up finishing it.
Definitely a beautiful choice and a beautiful track. And I understand all that of what you're saying. Also, Peter Gabriel's "Don't Give Up." And I see that you had feature a very special guest performance by your daughter Hannah, laying down a vocal track. Is she an inspiring singer, trying to maybe follow Dad's footsteps?
It's funny with Hannah. Hannah, since she was a kid, has always had perfect pitch, and she sings in the studio like a professional. She stands, she gets up to the mic. Her reading is almost fluent. She could be a working studio singer, but she studies psychology, and was working towards her master's and a doctorate and all of that kind of stuff, because she knows the ridiculousnly of the music business. She's a very smart person. She's also the one who's about to give birth to her baby. And she's just a smart kid, but she's got an incredible voice. And I just thought it might be a lovely idea to do "Don't Give Up" as a father-daughter story, as opposed to a husband-wife thing, as it appeared to be in the original.
That's it's great. That's something that's always going to be there forever, and good for her. And she sees all the craziness in the music world and says, "Yeah, it's great, Dad, but I'll continue to do what I'm doing." And good for her to soon to be a mom and all that excitement. The musicians and singers who have made contributions to this album, Joseph, is like a who's who of incredible players. Obviously, Luke, and also David and Lenny Castro, and the list goes on and on. How cool is that?
Oh, these are all my friends. I mean, these are my go-to guys who I've known, all my life. I mean, I'm blessed to have these guys in my life since I was a kid. Mike Landau was in one of the first bands that I had, which was called Joe Air. And originally this album was going to be a quote-unquote Joe Air album. It was going to be a return to that band. It was going to be me and my brother on drums and Landau on guitar. But it morphed into what you see here. But Lenny, he's always been playing on my albums, and Mike Landau, and this was an opportunity to bring people I hadn't worked with before on solo records, like Simon Phillips and Lee Sklar and all of those guys. But Luke and Landau and Paige and all of those guys I've known my whole life. Jay Gruska, everybody.
That's great that you can just say, "Hey, what are you doing today? Stop on down to the studio," or send them a track and get them involved. Joseph, talk to me about your songwriting process, your creativity behind it. Does it start with a lyric? Does it start with you behind the piano? How does that all work for you?
I'm usually a music first guy. A lot of songwriters are lyric first people. I do it the other way also, words first. But I'm usually a music first person because I'm more of a producer writer than I am what most people would consider a singer songwriter, I guess. I guess I have some songs that are kind of like that, but I'm more of a producer writer. At least this album, the songs that I wrote on this album were sort of written as I was producing them, I guess is the best way to talk about it. A lot of the music was written and produced, and then melodies and words were written over some half-produced tracks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it certainly makes sense. And your voice, Joseph, I mean, you got a great killer voice. What measures do you take to help, you're not going to do anything crazy to your vocal cords that prevents injury? I've been blessed to talk to the great Paul Rodgers and Glenn Hughes and Mark Slaughter, and they always, share with me, sleep number one, and certainly hydration. And I think Mark kind of shared that either he's doing interviews all day, but he can't go from interviews to, then laying down the track in an hour. How does that all work for you?
Well, the good news is when we came back in 2010, I went and worked with a teacher. I went and found a guy, a good vocal coach / teacher who does a lot of recovery stuff with singers who are injured, that kind of stuff. And I really got a full education and worked for about, really a good solid 3 years on my voice and stuff, and learned a lot about it. And, he taught me that, we still have to use our voices. We still have to be able to talk, and we still have to be able to sing after that kind of thing. So I learned a lot about how to use my voice when I need to talk versus when I need to sing. So yes, sleep is of course number one importance. Hydration is of course number one importance. For me, exercise is important. I have to get my blood moving, get my muscles loose, for me to have my voice strong on the road. Obviously, I have to keep my body as clean as I can on the road. But also, the simple vocal exercises. But I used to think okay, when the show's over, don't talk or don't do any interviews before the show. That's ridiculous. My teacher used to tell me we have to be able to live our lives. The idea is to just speak in a softer tone and to speak in a lower tone, in the lowest part of your register. If you're speaking down here in this low register, you're not going to screw up your high register part of your voice. if you're shouting or if you're, overusing the part of your voice where you're singing too much, you're going to injure it. I mean, yes, you don't want to talk too much before a show, but we do have to, live our lives.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, very good tips. And interesting, how everybody prepares before the show. Like you said, you got to get the energy and the blood flowing. And, I'm sure you do your warm-ups in the room. And, no, I totally get that.
Yeah, I have warm-ups that I do, but, for me, it's about lots of movement during the day before a show. I got to get up and I got to get my body moving and get the blood in my throat, going and loose and all of that kind of stuff. That's key. I get that. More great news for us great, wonderful Toto fans. Last month, you and Luke announced a new Toto lineup and plans to bring the Dogz of Oz tour worldwide. And then the band and the new lineup will have a one-night only concert event global debut live stream on Saturday, November 21st, which will broadcast in 3 geographical regions to super serve us great fans here worldwide. And we're talking Asia, Australia, New Zealand in one region, Europe, a second region, and North America all in one shot. And I encourage everybody to go to TotoOfficial.com and get your tickets. They are available right now. So obviously, Joseph, this is exciting news. Toto is back, a new lineup, looking to take it on the road, which we can't wait to see. And I'm sure you guys are probably rehearsing your ass off as we in between your interviews here and there. Absolutely, yeah. The band sounds amazing too. The rhythm section is new and just jumping. It sounds incredible. And there's continuity for the fans because Luke's there and I'm there. So for what people have been listening to for the last 10 years is pretty much what they're going to hear. Same singer, and we got Luke standing there. You can't do it without him. So it's, I think it's going to be great. People are going to be in the audience and look up and see pretty much what they're used to seeing.
I can't wait. I've seen you guys at least 5 times, and the last one, obviously, the Around the World, and I got to meet Luke after the show and Lenny after the show, and had a great time, and what a terrific performance. All the shows sell out, and I would expect, nonetheless, when you guys hit the road. I got to mention your dad, composer, conductor John Williams, regarded as by many as the greatest, if not the greatest, film composer of all times. I mean, my goodness, Star Wars and E.T. and maybe Jaws, and what's it like to have Dad as that type of guy, and then you're able to do some of that as well?
Well, first of all, he's a wonderful guy. I mean, he's the sweetest guy. Doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He's a angel of a man and a saint. I'm blessed to be, his offspring. He taught me basically everything I know. And, for 15 years, I went into television composing and film composing. That was rough because, people, of course, take a look at you and they go, well, you're no John Williams.
Oh, so, yeah, right.
being a singer, of course, a lot easier because nobody compares you. But, I had a very good time and some decent success when I was working in TV. But the reason I mention it is because what I used to do often is call my dad and ask him, how do I do this? How do I make this? They need a big band for this sequence. How do I arrange that? How do I orchestrate that? And he would tell me. He would give me all kinds of pointers and show me how to conduct if I needed to do a small group of a string quartet or something like that. So in that way, he gave me a lot of help. And he also over the years has thrown me work. So. I'm truly blessed to just be in his sphere.
No, I get that. That's, if you get in a jam, you go, hey, Dad, what about this? What about that? But that's got to be pretty cool. Singing voice of the adult Simba and Walt Disney's The Lion King. How different is that, Joseph, compared to, I mean, obviously it's a little bit of a difference compared to being in front of a band and performing in front of a live audience. Are you just in a studio and then reading the script pretty much and singing the songs that way?
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to what I used to do when I first started kind of in the business. I mean, I was a studio singer. So, I did, commercials, jingles, and stuff like that. We usually part of a background group for commercial jingles and those kinds of things. So the Lion King job was nothing strange to me. It was exactly that. It was, being hired and going into a studio and the producers and directors in the room, and they show you what it is, and they ask you to go in the booth, and they give you the lines, and you perform them, and they give you some suggestions, and then they say thank you, and you leave, and you hope they use what you're going to do. It's basically just like any other, sort of professional recording session for a movie or a TV show, that kind of thing. And I just, I didn't even know it was going to end up in the movie until my wife and I got tickets to a crew screening, and then we went to the screening, and there it was in the film. So
wow,
it was great. Yeah, 2 hours of work.
Nice. Well, that's interesting. You don't even know if it makes the cut or not. So you go, you do your part, you get a check, and they go, thanks for coming, see you again. And, that's cool. I love the Africa 2020 video. You guys had me cracking up. You, Luke, and Lenny, especially. I thought for sure you were going to knock down the vacuum a few times. And I think you finally decided, I'm going to dance with it and not lose sleep on knocking it on the ground here. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks. That was a lot of fun. I mean, we were asked to do just something if we could for a COVID relief. What do you call it? Not a challenge, but a charity.
Right.
We were asked to do something if we could, and. Dave was ill at the time, and it was just Luke and I that were around, and Lenny had his setup with a camera at home, and so we just had on the fly, and it just came out pretty funny, I thought.
No, it came out really good. It's been one crazy year. I mean, your thoughts on getting in front of a live audience, the first time you get back in front of a live audience, I mean, it's got to be, emotional. I think my last show I went to was Roger Hodgskin's Supertramp, February 15th, and I sit around going, really? What a year. But it's got to be probably way crazier for you, you guys.
It's been tough. I mean, I do much better on the road, just in general. Just my mental health, physical health, everything. I just do better. I like to work. I like to perform. I keep myself in better shape when I'm out on the road. Just by necessity, you have to be the singer. It's not that I don't want to be home. I love being with my kids, and I love producing and creating content and that kind of thing. But I've always loved the road. I miss it. It's going to take some time, but we'll get back out there. People are going to be hungry for getting out together and enjoying concerts together, and we'll get back to it. It's just going to take some time.
I can't wait. It's going to be great. Any other projects that I can help promote for you, Joseph? And I know you're a producer here and there. Or anything on your bucket list? Not left on. Anything on your bucket list that you're looking to eventually get to, or do a duet, or work with other artists, or produce for somebody?
Well, I've got a lot of things and some couple of projects forming in my mind that I probably couldn't, not really ready to talk about, but lots and lots of ideas. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. My plan is to just tour as long as I can, and then when I'm not touring is to just be home creating content of some kind and enjoying my children.
Excellent. Well, we're certainly Looking forward to seeing you guys back on the road. Denizen Tenant, it's that person that just won't leave, and I got one of them. Now that's pretty, I love it. Now that I understand it. Pre-orders are available today. It's on vinyl, it's on CD. The live stream is Saturday, November 21st. Tickets are available right now. You can go to TotoOfficial.com. Don't forget Luke's solo album, I Found the Sun Again, and great video with you involved with also Ringo in Run to Me. That looked like a lot of fun to do.
That was a blast. That was so much fun. Same kind of thing as the Toto COVID Africa. It was just on the fly fun, also sort of stuck at home COVID style.
No, it was all good. You could check out Joseph on all the socials that are out there. Joseph, I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have.
I sure did, and I really, really appreciate it.
No, it was great. It doesn't get any better than this. Joseph Williams, the lead vocalist of the great rock band Toto, on Pat's Soundbytes Unplugged podcast in conjunction with WBXO, where we're classic rock and we're redefined.